Hey guys, Jen with Astro T. Welcome back. Today is our second video in our 3-video series about what's going on in the sky with the stars from the 14th of August till the 21st. So we're really concentrating today on the Jupiter Saturn square that's happening on the 19th. And so we have a lot going on, so there's a lot to unpack. We have one more video coming up in this series, and that is the full moon in Aquarius. So be sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get that one too, because it's all going to come full circle when we do that video. So lots going on. So in this video, or in the last video actually, I got into the Mars-Jupiter conjunction that was happening on the 14th, kind of setting off this domino effect of really intense aspects that are going to be happening within this few days. And then the Mars squaring Saturn on the 16th, and that is building up that T-square with Mars and Jupiter, T-squaring to Venus and then Saturn. So let's unpack all that. So if you didn't see that video, I'll put the link in the description. I'll actually add the link at the end, so you just have to click on it after watching this video. Go back. It doesn't matter if you watch these in order because it's all happening around the same time. So let's go. So there was a lot of info in that video, so definitely check it out if you haven't. But today we are going to concentrate on the Jupiter-Saturn square and its entire cycle. So so this is the first of 3 squares since the new Jupiter-Saturn cycle that began on December 21st. What year? 2020. So we all remember 2020. So it's easy to remember back as to what was going on at that time, because a lot of 2020 is fresh in our memories of how pretty much horrible it was. And that was at 0 degrees Aquarius. So a lot of just changes, that like new normals going on, which is a lot of that Aquarian flares, that new normal happening. So began on the onset of just kind of that like breaking the old rules, instilling new beliefs, restructuring of society, the laws, even the Constitution they've talked about, all very Aquarian themes too, reforming and progressiveness met with rebellion. So of course we have a lot of that going on, and we have seen a lot of that over the past 4 years. So remember back, so what was happening around that time? I'm sure you remember, but we'll go over it. The leaders of, I know here in the United States and around the world, the leaders of the governments, heads of state, they're really trying to restructure society and gain almost like a complete control, creating new rules in the name of this the COVID safety. So starting all new rules, starting all new mandates like vaccine mandates, social distancing mandates, forced to mask in public, forced to go to work and school remotely because they didn't want you. So technology, again, that Uranian Aquarian theme really becoming a key factor. So really things depending on technology in order to just kind of make the world go round, to keep learning at school, to keep your businesses thriving. It was a lot of working from home. People went along with it at first, and we also had mandates on how close we could stand together and how many people you could have over to your house. Like, oh, if you're caught having more than this many people over to your house, you're going to get in trouble. So there were so many things that they were trying to kind of start almost to see what would stick. And the people went along at first, like everybody did, because they were so in fear of this horrible pandemic that was going on, that people were in fear and just wanted to stop it because people were scared that they would get it, give it to somebody they loved, and that person would die, or something horrible would happen, or they'd get it and they'd die, or who knows. But nobody would want that, so they did go along with it. But of course, this is, along with that new cycle, that conjunction, which is the same as a new moon cycle almost, because it's a conjunction between the two. And then as they start to that cycle grows with the waxing going until it's full. So this is going to be the full first, pretty much like the first quarter moon, which is the first quarter square of Jupiter and Saturn. So we see the seeds that were planted back in 2020 with the conjunction, and now what's going on. So we saw the Aquarian themes, especially, with the conjunction being at 0 degrees. Everything is about newness, like everything brand new, things that were, never thought of before. New structure of society. It was like a pure, in its infant state, pure potential, but at what cost? That pure potential is just to see, like, okay, we're going to put all this out there and just see what kind of works out with it all. Kind of like with any new moon, reminds me of too, if you're into the tarot, is that those aces cards. It's that pure potential that you don't know what could grow from it, but you have those ideas, you have those drives, you have those, of thinking how you want society to be, and that's what they were trying to work towards. So now we have the first square happening, and this is the first of 3 squares of the first quarter squares. Squares is an aspect that brings conflict, it brings discomfort, but most of all, it's a time of kind of reassessing what you first thought of in that new, that conjunction, that new phase, and how you can readjust to see what worked, what didn't work, and then move forward. So this square is in the Pisces, Saturn's in Pisces, and Jupiter's in Gemini, so air, water. So we have that deep Piscean emotion with an unsteady foundation, to Saturn's, desire for a firm foundation, for a firm, to be steady and to be strong and, pretty much steadfast. But with Pisces in there, it's kind of like walking in the moon room in a fun house. It's just all a little bit squishy and not firm and not substantial, so you don't quite feel like you're having a good footing. So the Jupiterian in Gemini is big energy, speaking and learning the truth, and that is almost like spreading knowledge, spreading truth, spreading lies, spreading gossip, spreading all sorts of things, and it's up to you to figure out what's true, what's not true, what to believe and what's not to believe, because the uneasy truths will rock that foundation even more. So we're already on that unsteady foundation. We see that around the world right now with everything that's going on, not just here in the United States, but that unsteady foundation is being even more, you're trying to balance and you're tipping all over the place because of this information that's coming out, and you're like, oh my God, like what now? You keep finding out more and more. So it's really rocking that foundation. So we're breaking away with, those new ideas, rebuilding the institutions. So we see this even in the Supreme Court, where a lot of this is political based, because we do have Jupiter and we do have Saturn, and it's about those in charge and those who kind of like preach how we should be living. And we see already that the current administration here in the United States wants to restructure our Supreme Court. So we already are seeing themes of this, and it's just kind of like feeling it out to seeing what sticks again, because we are at that. And so, okay, so maybe some of the things, some of the restrictions they tried didn't work out so well because there was so much pushback, but now they are trying something else, and you can see how they're going back to reassess, reconstruct, and move forward for the rest of this waxing cycle. So Saturn is retrograde currently, and the upcoming Jupiter retrograde will cause the square to occur 2 more times. in pretty much the next 10 month span. So expect a lot of this to not be settled for about that much time. So we have way until next June. So a lot's going to be changing, a lot's going to be going on. A lot of this uncomfortable, that square, that, you know, that irritating brushing against each other, that's not going to be settled pretty much until next year. You know, that uneasy rocking of the foundations, do not expect that to get any better anytime soon. And so the second one is actually going to happen on Christmas Eve at 14 degrees Gemini and Pisces. So it's still going to be in the air water elements. So I expect that to be very similar, but with everything else that's going on now, I think this one is going to be so much more eventful and poignant. There wasn't as much going on with that one. Now the final time that they square each other will be on June 15th to 2025. That will be at 1 degree Cancer and 1 degree Aries. So that takes them out of that that mutable, so it kind of makes the way for forward progress with that third, with the Aries Cancer, because that puts it into those cardinal signs. So back into that new energy, and this entire cycle then just ends on in 2040. Very similar to when Pluto makes his change, or her change, into going from Aquarius. So that's about when they finished. It was about 2044, I think, when Pluto then moves into Pisces. So a lot of activity going on until then. And I don't think anything's really, we're not going to see the final changes until then, but this is going to be a 20-year pretty much transformation period, the likes that, you know, we might not have seen. And if you remember what it was like, you know, at my age, I'm 50. When I grew up, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have video games, really. Now kids nowadays, they all have cell phones. They all have video games. They all have computers. They have computers in their classrooms. They can work remote. We never could do that stuff when we were young. So the change that's already taken place during the last 20 years has been crazy. And then for the next 20 years, let's see what that will bring. Anyway, so what even makes this even more extraordinary is that everything else that's going on in this same few days. So one day prior, we have the second Mercury-Uranus square. This one's during the Mercury retrograde now. So we know how the first one went. If you forgot, we had the attempted assassination on presidential candidate Trump, and pretty much the largest cyber outage ever. I can't remember, the ground strike or something. I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry about that. I should have wrote that down in my notes. But with this going on with the Jupiter Saturn square of restructuring, the Mercury retrograde square Uranus is that sudden change, perhaps recurrence or resurrection. So something brought back or reawakened. And don't forget, we also have that full moon same day. That's on the 20th. No, that's on the 19th. So much happening. Anyway, so this is bringing back that like reawakening, resurrecting. So I think that something forgotten that will it will really kind of like be almost like a stick in your bike spokes, is where you're going, and all of a sudden someone does that and you're come to an abrupt halt. So a sudden unsurety that's going to be, I think, really chaotic with this full moon in Aquarius also happening. You know, this is all going to be re-illuminated with the Sun-Mercury conjunction and also the full moon. So it was, so if you remember the last moon, and we'll get into that with but it's when Biden stepped down as the candidate, and kind of under really surprising and unknown circumstances, because he didn't say it out in the open. It was more just on Twitter. And so that is kind of that, you know, the moon and, you know, the sun kind of hiding the moon, but now things are illuminated. So now things are coming out in the open. So this is showing in many different ways, and a lot of the things you want to look at in astrology are things that happen in, are things that show up in threes. So, you know, 3 is kind of like that cornerstone number. Now we see kind of 3 main points that are, we have the Mercury Sun conjunction, we have the Mercury-Uranus square, we have the Jupiter-Saturn square, and we have that full moon. So we actually have 4 huge things going on, and we'll do a full video again, like I said, on that full moon coming up. So that driving force at the height of collective passion until something brings it to a sudden halt. So things may be crashing down. So what is coming to the height of a collective passion right now? And as I said in previous videos, what is something huge that's going on here in the United States right now? Well, the election. And I think a lot with what goes on in the United States does resonate around the world. So if you're not from the United States and you just don't care about this, please let me know, because after all this happens, we're going to go to some nicer, more fun, maybe some relationship videos or something like that, just to calm it down a little bit, because these have been so intense. But a lot of this also is happening during this Democratic National Convention that we have coming up. So there's a lot of passion going on ever since that new moon where Biden dropped out. We see Kamala Harris pretty much going from not super popular to super popular. So going from, you know, really bad positivity rating to over the top positivity rating. So we see a lot there. It could not be with that, but we see a lot of that going on with her in this campaign. And I only bring that up because it is during this Democratic National Convention, which starts on the 19th, goes pretty much till the 22nd. So all during all this stuff happening. So it makes me think, you know, that huge surge of popularity that she had, things may come repeating back up or be remembered from the past. So, you know how the news and, you know, the media has a way of digging things up from the past. Is that going to be like that stick in her spoke of her bike that is taking her to a sudden stop? Will this cause the Democratic Party to have to rework, restructure in regards to the campaign because of things being illuminated from the past? And unsurety, of course, with the path to the objective. So the objective is that they get, you know, a Democratic president. So is this going to be that kind of issue that's going to throw that stick in the spoke, that's going to stop that momentum, and then it's going to have to be like, okay, now what do we do? Scrambling to then figure out what to do next. Not sure if that's the case, just kind of look that way to me, so just throwing it out there. Also, I think a lot of the illumination might actually come from Biden himself, maybe even not himself, but himself by proxy, that we're going to see maybe why he made that decision so fast might come out around this time. I would not be surprised about that, but we'll get into that a little bit more with the new moon video that we have, or full moon video that we have coming up next. So make sure you stay tuned, make sure you hit that notification bell and subscribe. Anyway, another point of concern is with Jupiter's association with religion and how and whom we choose to worship. That is conjuncting Mars, so expanding on this idealism, that conviction, and being in Gemini, we also have the Mars aggression. So, you know, expanding the idealism, your ideas, what you want to say, maybe a preachiness going on, not preachiness in a bad way, but just kind of expressing your religious beliefs. But this is square to the Saturn, again, representing old ways, old traditions. And then this square with Jupiter Mars, Jupiter in detriment, can have idealists going from zero to radical, I think, instantly and really quickly. I think things can escalate really quickly. We've already have a war going on in the Middle East that kind of is pitting two major religions against each other. So wars and escalations that center around these religions and religious beliefs are violently and wrongly almost justified. And I don't even mean just wars surrounding it, but I mean, this could be just protests getting out of control, people just against the other side that's just getting to be a little bit too much, but they think that it's justified that they act out violently, that they act out, and I think it's wrongly justified. And I think because we do have the benefics in their detriments, I think that it's going to be more negative than positive. So I do worry about those escalations and people really going after the religion that is not their religion or who you don't stand for. And I think that might be a big player in these next few weeks, which is a little bit scary. So hoping for the best on that one, because you just don't like to see countries at war. It's just really sad. So personally, now on a personal basis, and just you want to check out where you have Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, the mutable signs in your chart to see how this may affect you, what planets you have in mutable signs, and their aspects. For me, I thought this would be fun. It's all in my cadent houses. So that is 3, 6, 9, 12. So really focusing on the Mars-Jupiter conjunctions in my 6th house. It is conjunct my natal Saturn. So to me that looks like, maybe getting something that you work for, something good luck blowing up, hopefully anyway. The Jupiter Mars also trines my natal Uranus in the 10th, almost to the exact minute. And I don't like to do my own predicting, because when you predict something for yourself, or you're kind of on one side or the other, if you're predicting like sporting events or something like that, you're usually a little bit biased. And so of course I see what I want to see. So I want to see, things expanding. Woo, things are going to expand in my 6th house of work. I'm going to get a raise, and plus my 10th house, a surprise raise, surprise promotion. Who knows what's going to happen? But again, Uranus, it's unpredictable. You don't know how it's going to work out. So I know what I want to see, but if any of y'all want to just pick all that apart and leave me feedback in the comments, I would love to hear what you all have to say. I think that would be fun. But for your own chart, check the houses where all this falls, see what area of your life might be affected. And again, we have the one more video coming up with the full moon Aquarius. So be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and tell a friend about the channel. And please leave your comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. What are your thoughts on it? Let me know anything. I don't care. Say like, I'm sick of your stupid political crap. I want to hear this next time. Say that too, because I got some composite ideas coming up for composite charts for relationships, and we're kind of going to go a whole different way after all this takes place. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned, get notified, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye.